Hello, Internet. From PLUGHITZ Studios, I'm Scott.
I'm Avram.
And we are here with episode 539 of F5 Live. Refreshing technology for Sunday, September 29th, 2019. This show is a proud part of the Tech Podcast Network. If it's tech, it's here. This week, Apple's phones can be broken. Microsoft's streaming can be tested, and Google's news results can't be previewed. Wherever you are and however you're accessing our show, whether it be on social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat, on any of the podcatchers, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, the Podcast Play app in the Windows Store, the myriad of others like Spotify or TuneIn, on any of our live stream platforms, livestream.com, Mixer, Twitch, YouTube, Facebook Live, or Periscope, or of course on our website, PLUGHITZlive.com. Thank you for making us a part of your day. There are two ways that you can do that. The first is Sunday nights, 9 p.m. Eastern. You can go to f5live.tv/join us. There, you can chat with us in the studio as the show is going on. Give us your take on the topics as we talk about them. Avram and I always love to hear what you have to say, especially when we're talking the Piltch point, which this evening is going to be possibly the strangest and most interesting topic we've had in a while. Cannot wait for that. Also, if you can't join us live, that is okay. You can, like I said, you can subscribe on a bunch of platforms, and you can see all of our shows by going to PLUGHITZlive.com/subscribe, and there you can see all the different ways that you can subscribe. I think that is the spiel. Avram, how are you doing this evening?
Oh, not bad, not bad. Pretty good. It's busy time of year. Now, lots of stuff sort of gearing up on our website for the holiday season and all the people who come for buying advice. Trying to add a lot more articles. And new stuff coming all the time. But meanwhile, as we'll talk about later, we trying to do some fun stuff, especially to get some fun stuff on video to just show people some of the weirdest stuff that is possible. I won't spoil it. We'll talk during my segment about that. But we've done a couple of really fun science experiments in the office in the past couple of weeks. Well, you could call them science experiments, or you could call them extreme teching. But we'll talk about that later.
I think I like that term, extreme teching, especially for the second one.
Yes. Well, it's not an experiment. We kind of know. Well, we didn't know for sure it would work, but anyway.
But there was enough evidence to suggest that it probably would.
Yes.
Oh my goodness. Well, that's going to be a fun conversation. I'm looking forward to it. On my side, I have good news and bad news for people. The bad news is that Collision is done. We have published all of the videos. For you guys, it's bad news. For me, it's great news. It's taken way too long. But the good news is that we have plenty more stuff coming with the Roboticon in 2 weeks. And I'm so not ready for that. But that's okay. It always comes together, even if it's at the last minute. It's fine. I'll be good. And then we'll have stuff from Synapse, which is also very late. And then we'll also have stuff from other first events, the Orlando Regional, and then Roboticon. So lots more content coming. And if you did not see it, because have we had a show since the new iPhone came out? I can't remember how long it's been out. I don't think we have. I think it would have been last week. Right? It was the 20th.
I guess it would have been.
Okay. So that means that nobody has seen, or not everybody has seen, the unboxing that we did on the iPhone Pro Max. Check it out. It's at unboxed.live. Yeah. Anyway, lots of stuff going on this week. So let's get down to some news. This week's Nifty Gifties on F5 Live is proudly powered by the Microsoft Store. Whether you're looking for a Surface Pro 6, which is on a great deal right now, $400 off with the Surface event coming up this week, or you're looking for a new Xbox One, an S or an X, there is a Star Wars bundle available right now. Maybe you're looking for a new laptop or a non-Surface tablet, or maybe you're looking for games for your new Xbox, controllers, VR headsets, and a whole lot more are all available by going to f5live.tv/Microsoft. And as is all too often the case, let's talk about Apple. This week, some information came out that could be concerning to some Apple iPhone or iPad owners. There is a new exploit that has been discovered in the bootloader of devices ranging from the iPhone 4S all the way up through the iPhone X that allows the devices essentially to be rooted, or in the terminology of the Apple community, jailbroken, and it gives a surprising amount of access, including the ability to put other operating systems on devices. So if we know anything about the jailbreak community or the tech community, my guess is by this time next week, somebody will have Android running natively on an iPhone X. Just a guess. But it does, on that side of things, it does bring up the idea that, maybe with a lighter weight operating system, or even just one that hasn't been abandoned by Apple, as if you go back to the iPhone 4S, that thing hasn't had any updates in 4 generations. If you could get, a lightweight version of Android, like Android Go running on it, you could actually bring a device like that back to some sort of usability, even if it's as a kid's toy or something. You could actually bring it up to something modern. But the fun side of it is nice and all, but the real problem is that with this exploit, you can get to a lot of data on the device without any security. Now, any of the stuff that's encrypted is obviously still encrypted. That's not going to change. But the encrypted file structure could be exposed through this. The good news is that the device has to physically be in the hacker's possession. So don't lose your older phone, I think is really the key here, because the way Apple's devices are set up, the bootloader is not patchable. So it's a permanent fix, or a permanent problem, which is definitely an interesting situation.
This sounds like fun to me. Like,
there's going to be a lot of fun here.
Finally, you can do some cool stuff. Look, there's so many vulnerabilities. I mean, I don't mean to sound like I'm going to be laissez-faire about security or whatever. Obviously, security is very important,
right,
on your devices, but it's every time you hear about an exploit, I think you've got to put it in context. If it's an exploit that requires someone to steal your device, then the answer is really simple. Don't let somebody steal your device.
Right.
Don't lose your device. Yes, I know it happens. If that happens, then use the remote wipe software and wipe it right away.
Yeah.
Like that's...
Yeah. Find my iPhone, see if you can locate it. If you can't, tell it to destroy itself next time it turns on.
Also, what you didn't say, and I don't know if we know the answer to this, does it have to be unlocked for you to do that?
No.
Like if I have it locked, how are you going to get into it to jailbreak it?
It does not require the device to be unlocked because it happens at the bootloader, which is the Apple equivalent of the BIOS. So the issue is before the operating system even loads.
Right, but I mean, in order to do the thing that would allow you to patch, who knows? But
apparently, it does not.
I don't totally
it does not
understand 'cause I
require.
haven't jailbroken an iPhone.
Yeah, Apparently, it does not require that the device be unlocked for the exploit to be taken advantage of. Now, obviously, it has to be unlocked. It has to be unlocked for the encryption to be disabled and things like that. So this isn't going to help to throw back to a really old story, the San Bernardino case, right? Where Apple refused to create a workaround to unlock an iPhone without unlocking the iPhone. This will not provide that. Essentially, if you want to get the data in a useful way, the device still has to be unlocked. But if you want to flash the device and put Android on it, apparently no problem. Don't have to get that far.
I think there could be a really fantastic use of this in the next Mission Impossible movie. Take someone's iPhone, you put while they're drinking or whatever, doing something, being distracted, take the iPhone, have the tech person go and put another operating system on it that looks just like their regular operating system, but actually has built-in spying.
So essentially, that skin for Android that the Chinese companies use that looks just like iOS.
Yeah, something like that. Maybe a little bit more convincing, but but yeah, I mean, I don't know. Look, there's a lot of exploits that people talk about. There was some we covered on Tom's Hardware this week. There's been some, talk about the gigabytes. Forget the name of it. Like RGB sync software that you use to control the RGB lights on its motherboards and video cards and stuff. And being somebody's claimed they discovered a vulnerability in it. But the vulnerability also required you to be on the computer there. So, here's a tip: don't let strange people onto your computer. And in this case, it wasn't at the bootloader level, so it would have to be unlocked.
Yeah, but it also means that it's software, so it can be patched, whereas this one cannot. So,
yeah,
but
I mean, this is more serious, also because it's a highly mobile device.
That's true.
That you're probably much more likely to lose your phone than your laptop or your desktop.
Certainly your desktop.
Yeah. I don't know. I like to carry mine around on wheels.
We do have a Pelican case that's specifically cut for our two studio desktops, but I don't think that's quite the same thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, there's, like you said, there's all kinds of exploits all the time, and while there are some slight security implications here, they are very small. A lot of it has to do with the fact that it only runs up through the iPhone X. So Apple customers tend to upgrade their devices, so there won't be as many of these out in the wild. But also, the physical access really limits the scope of this thing. But I think the place where this really gets interesting is the fun that's going to be had. I think we all know, at least those of us who are active in this part of the community know that anytime any level of access is granted to a new piece of hardware, the first thing that happens is that Doom is played on it.
I can't wait to see what people do.
Yeah.
I'll be keeping an eye on Reddit.
That's what,
because that's probably
where we'll see a lot of it.
Where you'll find some crazy stuff people do.
Yeah.
When we do stories like that on Tom's Hardware, someone's done some weird thing for the first time, which is why we try to do a weird thing for the first time when we can.
Sure.
It's people like to read that, and why not?
And it's fun to see the weird things that people accomplish, like the weird things that happen in Minecraft. Or my two favorite Dooms are, one, the guy who got it running in a window on an ATM. But my my all-time favorite was when Apple released the MacBook Pros with the without the function keys, with the screen instead. It wasn't
Yeah.
it wasn't a week before somebody had Doom running on that tiny little stretch screen. That one's my all-time
I don't
favorite.
know how you play that, but it's not about the quality of the play, is it?
No, it's not. It is all about running a. I think it's all about running a DOS game on Mac, but it'll be interesting to keep an eye on what's going on here. I would guess that the two communities that are the most active in getting weird operating systems running on hardware it's not supposed to are Android, and believe it or not, the WebOS community is still very active in that insanity. So I look forward to seeing if, I swear to God, if somebody gets WebOS running on an old iPhone, oh, I'll have it tomorrow. It should be a lot of fun to see what happens there. This week's Piltch Point with Avram Piltch is powered by a PureVPN. When you're browsing the internet, you want to keep yourself both secure and private, and the best way to do that is with a VPN like PureVPN. It obfuscates your browsing history from Google and Facebook, but also from your ISP, and it gives you the ability to report that you are physically somewhere that you are not, which is wonderful when you're traveling out of the country and you want to access a service that is not available. And right now, they are doing a deal for our viewers. You can get 2 years of service for $2.88 a month instead of the regular $10.95. And you can get all of that by going to pilchpoint.live/purevpn. All right. So we've been teasing it all show. You and your team have been doing some weird stuff, and I absolutely love it. What have you guys been up to? Uh-oh. You've gone quiet on me, Avram.
We did a couple of little science experiments in our office just to kind of prove that things we could do certain things. So the first one, actually, I think could be kind of useful to people to know about. So I met this writer, TJ Smith. He's a YouTuber. Anyway, he showed me how to waterproof electronics. So the key is that you have to take, a circuit board, let's say, and you have to bathe it in this very poisonous chemical called corrosion X, which you can buy. You don't want the aerosol can, you want the spray bottle, so that you can open it up and dump it into like a piece of Tupperware or a bowl or something, although one you'll never eat from again, and use it to bathe a board. Now, I wouldn't recommend, it's probably not a good idea to actually put your power source underwater or do this to it, but what we did, and what I can say we were able to do, is we took a Raspberry Pi 4, bathed it in Corrosion X, took the wires, the power USB-C cable that provides power, the micro HDMI cable that provides video. We dipped the tips of those into Corrosion X, and then we were able to run the Raspberry Pi underwater. So,
wow.
Supposedly Corrosion X will last for 6 months of constant use. Obviously, we didn't test that theory. The one problem that we had was that and this could have been a problem with just the USB-C cable we were using or whatever, but as we were pushing, the problem is that the Raspberry Pi was fairly light, so it wanted to float, and I wanted to get it completely submerged for purposes of science. So I had to keep like using the wires to kind of push it underwater, and sometimes the um, the power cable would like not have a solid connection when I was pushing it. So that's probably just me pushing on it or whatever. Once I just let it float, it stayed on no problem. Now, there's a lot of caveats to this. One, corrosion X is super poisonous. They tell you if you get it on your clothes to like, I don't know, be careful and put your clothes somewhere. Don't get it on your skin. Although the guy who showed us how to do this and wrote the article with me, um, he uses his bare hands to do it and just washes them a lot. But one thing to keep in mind is your it never dries. It's like putting WD-40 in a lock or something.
Oh.
It's kind of a lubricant. So it it anytime you touch once you've waterproofed something with corrosion X, anytime you touch it, you'll get this chemical on yourself. Um, so um, so why would you want to do this? Um, I mean, theoretically, this would allow you to use something like Raspberry Pi outside in poor weather, in bad weather, or I don't know, near a swimming pool or something. But here's the problem. First of all, you don't want to be in any water that this is touching because it's got this chemical on it that comes off. Um, Second of all, you're not waterproofing, and certainly would not be recommended to waterproof either, is the power source. So, you know, it still has to be plugged into an outlet or a battery somewhere, right? To get juice to actually do anything. Even if you don't have a monitor connected to your computer, to your Raspberry Pi, and you just want to give it power so it can like collect data from a sensor or something and send it to the internet. Um, it's you still need a power source.
Sure.
And you're not going to take an electric socket and start pouring water on that. Like that's really dangerous. Um, Even in this case, I would kind of caution people, um, not to touch the water when if they're trying this, not to wear gloves. I mean, granted, it shouldn't put any electricity in the water, because it shouldn't short. But you know, uh, really, it's more of a science experiment than anything else. So, I mean, really, and honestly, if you wanted to use a Raspberry Pi or another microcomputer outside, probably a better bet would be to get a waterproof case to put it in,
Yeah.
and then you could put the batteries in that case too. Um, and that would be probably a cleaner, neater solution that would probably protect it better because this is just coating against water, but not against, if hail hits it or something and damages it from the weight or anything like that. So, I mean, I guess one possible use case for this sort of thing would be if you were building, let's say, a robot or a radio controlled vehicle or something, and you had to put the circuit board in it, and even though the entire thing was supposed to be waterproof and you had a waterproof structure around it, maybe you want to add an extra layer of protection for the board inside, that you don't really touch, but just in case some water leaks in, you're covered.
Like a, like a
I think
second
that's
level,
probably the
like a
best
second
use
level
case.
of protection on the board, not as the
Yes.
primary thing, but as a secondary.
Yes, yes. So that, I mean,
Got it.
now, what TJ did with it and what one could do, but I think they're just better ways of doing this. He put it in a bucket of ice, um, to use it as a cooler, as to make it cool for overclocking. Um, and indeed, putting in a bucket of ice makes your Raspberry Pi very cool. When it's normally running at idle in the like 50s or 60s Celsius, um, and then you put it in there and it's running at 11 degrees Celsius or even 8 degrees Celsius if not overclocked. Um, you know, that's that's impressive. On the other hand, the ice is going to melt eventually, so this is not a good solution.
It's
And
certainly
by
not a
the
long
way,
term solution.
getting a $5 or $10 fan will allow you to maybe not get that cool, but will get cool enough so that the machine doesn't throttle. And isn't that all you really care about? I mean, as long as it's under 80 degrees Celsius, which is the point at which it throttles, um, then you should be happy. Like, yeah, I mean, unless you're just trying to prove to somebody just how cool you can get it, you don't really need to care whether it's 75 degrees or 5 degrees, as long as it's below the threshold of throttling. So um, we did it. It was a fun experiment. I encourage folks to check out the article and video on Tom's Hardware um, about this. But for most people, this is going to be more interesting to know that it can be done than to actually find a use for doing it themselves and dealing with the toxic chemicals and the you know unnecessary stuff. The other thing that we have done, which will be on our live on our site in a couple of days, we're waiting for the final cut of the video that we shot to be ready. Um, is we decided we would try uh, testing an AMD and an Intel system to see which one cooks pancakes the best on its CPU. So to generate now, if you look online, people have cooked eggs on CPUs before. It's not it's not a brand new concept that the amount of heat that a CPU can generate is so great that you could actually use it for cooking. But we hadn't seen anybody do pancakes, and what we really wanted to do, because we hadn't seen anybody else do it, is to pit AMD against Intel. Now, obviously, we didn't try every AMD processor and every Intel processor. We tried two comparable ones. So they were both high-end desktop chips because those get hotter. So we used the Intel Core i9-9980XE, which is a high-end desktop chip, and we used the Intel Threadripper, not the I mean the AMD Threadripper 2990WX. Um, and so I really encourage people to watch the video and read the article because there's a lot more detail in there, but I will give you a spoiler about what happened. So we were able to cook a pancake on the Intel chip. It took about 15 minutes to generate enough heat. Because these chips get up to a maximum of 105 degrees Celsius, which is 220 degrees Fahrenheit approximately. And that is enough to cook, but it's not like super hot like your stove. So by taking the fan off and putting thermal paste on the bottom of a small skillet, we were able to get it to get it to cook the pancake. I think our biggest problem was that our skillet was, even though it was really small, was too big for the mother to fit on top of the chip as much as we would have liked. So we had to kind of remove the VRMs, voltage regulator modules around the chip, and then that created some stability problems. Or we had to remove the cooling of the VRMs, I should say, not the VRMs. So we had to like hold a case fan, and to blow on them to keep it from getting so hot it turned itself off. Now, AMD, the Threadripper chip was actually a really large, physically large chip, so it's got a lot of surface area to put a pan on. But it also, even though it had full cooling on the VRMs, turned itself off. So, and we basically could not get it to run without a fan, without some type of active cooling solution on it. So that means we couldn't put our pan on it. That means, ergo, we couldn't really cook on it at all. Because there was some residual heat from when it was on and then turned itself off, we let it attempt to cook the pancake for a few minutes. With that residual heat, it didn't really work. It ended up with just being batter. So if you want to cook pancakes with a several $1,000 computer instead of actually using it as a computer, I definitely recommend Intel over AMD. Now, some at AMD folks fans could argue that maybe it's better that it turned itself off than continue to run under the conditions where you're not really actively cooling it. Although the rebuttal to that would be, hey, the Intel chip didn't break and it managed to cook to manage that heat just fine. So, either way, it really doesn't tell you a lot about performance of those chips. So, and when you look at the actual performance of those chips, Intel wins on some scores and AMD wins on other tasks. So, they're really evenly matched. But when it comes to cooking, you definitely, at least in this high-end desktop class of processor, you definitely want Intel. So keep that in mind when you're on a desert island. If you're stuck on a desert island with a bottle of pancake batter, a high-end desktop, a working power socket, and nothing else, what you will do to survive, you will want the AMD chip.
Nope.
The Intel chip.
So close.
When you're stuck in the blue, when you're stuck in the Blue Lagoon, you want a CPU from Team Blue.
There you go. I think
that's how to remember.
I think that's the quote there. I like that.
Man.
So how long did it take to prepare that second experiment?
So it took a lot of people. Our CPU editor, Paul Alcorn, who is just absolutely brilliant with this kind of stuff, was visiting us from out of town because he doesn't live in New York. And he brought the stuff with him. And I think the setup for each was maybe half an hour to an hour. I think less. I think the first one took an hour. And then once we had it down pat, the second one took maybe like 20-30 minutes to get set up. Obviously, also we ran IDA 64, which is a temperature measurement program, but it also has a stress test in it. So we wanted to make sure that not only were the computers on, but they were actually doing something that completely stressed out the CPU, so as to generate as much heat as possible.
That makes sense. Yeah, I wouldn't have even thought about a stress tester, which of course is the logical thing. I know that I can push my processor to 100% rendering the show at the end of the night. But
I mean, we talked about, I'll be honest, we talked about adding another sort of layer to the testing where we would try different applications and see like which application cooks better for you. But we only had so many hours to do this, and it seemed like that's just adding a layer of complexity where, as it is what we learned is at the very peak stressor, it took 15 minutes. So I can only imagine if we were playing like a 4K game or something, and like, the game was getting really intense. We had a big fight scene, so it started to heat up, and then there was a cut scene, and all of a sudden our pancakes, the pan started to cool down. So I guess if you're gonna cook, you need to have consistent heat.
Indeed. Unless you're making scrambled eggs, in which case on and off is best. But that's a whole different conversation. I think the takeaway.
Yes, we could try that.
I think the takeaway here is that during the show, right now, we could probably cook pancakes in the studio. This computer sits at about 100% most of the show. That's
the question is whether the CPU would let you, though, because it might,
as soon as you pop the fan off,
not be able to handle the heat.
Yeah, as soon as you pop the fan off, this thing will turn off.
Granted, for what it's worth, we had the equivalent of a heat sink in that the pan was a heat sink.
True.
Right, but we know that just having passive cooling, a heat sink on a hot CPU is not a recipe for longevity for that CPU.
Very true. Well, I I love the waterproofing. It's a great idea, and there are definitely applications for it. Not for most consumers, but like you said, there are definitely applications for it for things that are naturally going to get wet, double protection, that kind of thing. But this pancake thing is the silliest thing I've ever heard, and I absolutely love it. I'm so glad that you guys did it.
Oh,
when will we get to see this video?
We're looking. Well, when our video folks make a couple changes to the draft they showed us, so probably I'm gonna guess maybe Tuesday or Wednesday.
Perfect.
But yes, we'll have that up. We'll share it out. We certainly went, spent a lot of time on it, so we really want people to watch, especially watch the video, not just read the article. So we even got Tom's Hardware cooking aprons for this occasion. So.
Awesome. Well, Avram, I always appreciate the things that we talk about. We always talk about interesting stuff, but wow, cooking pancakes is it Intel or AMD better at cooking pancakes? That is the weirdest and one of my favorites, I think, ever. Thank you for that, and I challenge you to try and top it. How's that? We'll see.
We will try, especially if any story that involves comparing Intel and AMD always does well for us. So we're always looking for new vectors to compare them them on.
Well, that's definitely a new one. I can't wait to see the video. This week's Extra Life on F5 Live is proudly powered by Razer, all the accessories you need to up your game on both PC and on console are available from Razer. Whether you're looking for a new keyboard or a mouse like the one I use here in the studio, maybe a gaming phone, or even an entire system like the Razer Blade 15, there are all kinds of accessories and stuff to make your gaming experience better, and you can see all of those and the weekly deals by going to f5live.tv/Razer. We have talked over the last number of weeks a lot about kind of the change in the gaming industry and this renewed interest in game streaming. We know that Microsoft's been working on Project xCloud. Google has Stadia. EA has Project Atlas, and there's more. PlayStation has had their service for a couple of years now, and we'll call it the Godfather OnLive kind of got all this stuff started before going away because they were certainly way too early to the buffet. And we've seen the services get to the point where they're ready to test. EA has been running a technical test, a really early technical test. Google did a public test a while back, and their service is slated to come out soon, which leaves Project xCloud, who announced this week that they are ready for testing. And in fact, they want people to sign up. The sign-up process is pretty easy. I went through it just to see what kind of stuff that they were going to ask a consumer on the testing side, and it was pretty simple stuff. You've got to have a second-gen Xbox One controller, an Android device running Android 6 or above, and a stable internet connection. That was basically it. And they are looking for public testers. The first batch is going to be pretty small, and the first round of testing is going to focus on the cloud side of Project xCloud, though they will be testing the console streaming feature coming up, because there's already information about that test on the website. We have a link at PLUGHITZlive.com to sign up if you want to. It's important to note that just because you've signed up does not mean that you will be accepted into the test. But they're looking at, just like what EA did, they've got kind of a variety of games. It'll be Halo 5 Guardians, Gears 5, Killer Instinct, and Sea of Thieves. You might notice that one of these things is not like the others. Killer Instinct came out in 2013 versus Gears 5, which came out 3 weeks ago. So they are definitely looking at different types of gameplay. They're looking at different ages of games, which I think, Avram, I think they're probably testing, the stress of an older game versus a newer game and the different control styles.
Sure.
That makes sense, right?
Easier to run the old game.
Sure.
Yeah. One thing I find curious about this Project X Cloud is the focus on mobile devices only, on Android phone and tablet, not PC gaming, which is different from some of the other solutions out there that really want this to be a substitute, allow you to play on a low end PC. Like, oh, now you can play it on your Ultrabook. You don't need discrete graphics. That is very problematic for Microsoft and its partners. And frankly, I have some skin in that game too, because if game streaming was so good that people no longer, needed good PCs, there wouldn't be as many people interested in, reading about PC components and performance and video cards.
True.
And there would be fewer people having the kind of fun and challenge of building their own PCs, because a lot of that is done because of gaming.
Yeah.
So, if cloud computing is too good, it kind of takes away all the fun from your local computer when it just becomes some kind of dumb terminal. So, with Project X Cloud, Microsoft isn't even touching that. They're just saying, like, your phone, which cannot play PC games anyway, now can do this.
Yeah.
But I gotta wonder about the future. If other people are successful at that, Microsoft is going to also feel compelled. Like if Stadia is a big success, if I don't know, I still am. I mean, how many game streaming services are there now? There's EA's, there's Stadia,
there's Atlas,
GeForce
Stadia,
Now.
Yep, xCloud, GeForce Now. There's the PlayStation Now, which is how PlayStation deals with their backwards compatibility stuff. And I don't know. Obviously, some other publisher is working on one. I wouldn't be surprised if Activision is working on one too, and just hasn't really said anything yet, because it seems like the kind of thing they'd be into. But those are the big ones right now: NVIDIA, Microsoft, Google, and EA. Those will be those will be the big ones.
I don't know what to make of what the future is for GeForce Now. By the way, I have a GeForce Now account and I've used it quite a bit. I love the idea of it. The execution is, I may have mentioned this on this program before, is rather hit or miss. It can be really good, but strangely, when trying it on, using it from a PC, it works a lot. Seems for me to work a lot better than from using it from NVIDIA's own Shield TV. Like it seems to cut off more and get a much worse signal on Shield TV than it does on my PC. So, which is bizarre. But I've had experiences of having a poor connection. It shuts off, and I get cut off. Then I try to get back in. It's too busy because there's too many people logged in. And there's some frustration when you are saving games on it, there it's saved to that account. But if you then want to go back and use a local account, like you have Steam on another computer that can handle it, the saves aren't synchronized or whatever. So, uh, it's, but the potential is really there to have, you get better quality streaming. Now you add maybe better 4G or 5G, and you're doing it on a phone. Sure. I mean, I guess one question though is, I guess they have to be games that are controller friendly. So, a lot of PC games are controller friendly, but you have some that are really more keyboard friendly.
Yeah.
And it's not going to work for that, but it's an interesting idea. I see a lot of attention with the streaming on, and in talking to gaming companies and everybody on trying to get people to be able to play games more and more when they're out and about. And even you look at consoles like Nintendo Switch is all about that too. Like, it's
Yep.
not enough to game when you're at home, and it's not enough to have like cute fun casual games on your phone when you're out and about. Now we've got to have serious good quality
Gears 5.
PC or console games when we're on the train.
Being able to take
it's-
Gears 5, an honest to god AAA flagship title, and play it on an Android device.
Yeah. I mean, so I find it fascinating that Microsoft is really just trying to right now solve that problem rather than the other problem, which has some somewhat negative implications for its partners and for the industry. If you can manage to make this run really well on a Android phone, then you could manage to make it run well on a PC. All of a sudden, your home PC no longer has to have discrete graphics. Maybe you can use a crappy 5-year-old computer to play the latest AAA game.
Sure.
And the incentive for people to buy new computers becomes less.
Yeah. Although I do think that the intent is to add this to the new Xbox app, not what is now called the Xbox Companion or whatever. Is that what it's called? Yeah, the Xbox Console Companion, but instead into the new Xbox app, which is where Game Pass exists today on the PC. So I have a feeling that this will somehow get tied up in one way or another with the Game Pass Ultimate at some point. So that would definitely bring it to the PC, but I don't think it's their, like you said, I don't think it's their primary goal. I mean, they've gone so far as to make this really cool phone holder that snaps into the clip at the bottom of the Xbox One controller and over the top, and then has an adjustable clip on the top to put a phone in, so that you've got the Xbox One controller and the phone attached. It's the link has a picture of that.
Yeah, I saw.
That piece
I
of
was
equipment.
looking at it before.
It's such an interesting piece, right? It's such an interesting piece, even if you're not using it. Like, I could see that piece for like a Mixer streamer or a Twitch streamer, having the Twitch broadcaster dashboard, which works really well on the phone. Having that right above your controller, you can play and you can look down at your dashboard real quick. Oh, I can see that being crazy useful.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure you know this, but maybe the audience doesn't. There have been a bunch of, not for Xbox controllers, but there have been a whole bunch of mobile controllers that allow you that look a lot like that. They have the controller built in, but they're not Xbox controllers.
Right.
They're like Bluetooth, regular, generic Bluetooth controllers. I forget the names of some of the companies that make them, but if one looks around, it's easy to find a controller like that that's not meant for streaming per se, but is meant for like, oh, you want to play a controller game in Android.
Right.
Although one of the things that maybe I'm not as up on this as I should be, but last time I tried this, there weren't a ton of games that had Android native games that had good controller support.
True. It's changed a little bit, but still not a lot. It's definitely the limitation of that really cool hardware. But flipping the script and using your phone as a secondary screen for streaming or something is really for game streaming for the Xbox could be a really interesting secondary market for that phone clip. I kind of want one now.
Yeah.
Also,
it does sound like a good idea.
Also, the ability to use the keyboard on your phone through the Xbox companion app to type on your Xbox One versus the one character at a time. Oh, there's all kinds of reasons I want this clip. Yeah. Whether or not I ever actually test the thing, I definitely want that clip. Anyway, as far as testing Xbox, what Project xCloud, definitely go sign up. Put your name into the queue. Obviously, they are going to want feedback, and that's going to be a requirement. If you're not going to do that, you will not be included in future projects. So definitely keep that in mind. And if you get in and we don't, let us know how it works when it starts in just a couple of weeks. It's going to start, I think probably the middle of October. So it's coming pretty soon. If you get in and we don't, let us know how it works. This week's News from the Tubes and F5 Live is proudly powered by RiffTrax. Make fun of movies or let these guys do it for you. Mike Nelson, Bill Corbett, and Kevin Murphy, the former stars of Mystery Science Theater 3000, are back and doing what they do best, creating commentaries for Hollywood blockbusters and B-movie oddities like Adam Age Vampire. That's a silly name. The way it works is for a couple of dollars, you download the MP3, play it along with your DVD, Netflix, Amazon, wherever the movie happens to exist, and laugh. They've also got short films, those kind of industry films, such as What is a Map? And the kind of nonsense you watched in school. And you can find all of the short films and all of the feature films by going to f5live.tv/rifftracks with an X. What is a Map is an actual example of one of the short films that they have made fun of, obviously for good reason. Anyway, staying on the Microsoft topic, let's talk about the cloud. Obviously, the whole world is moving. We've just talked about video games moving to the cloud. Everything is moving that direction. Storage and applications and all kinds of stuff are moving that way. And as more stuff goes that way, so do the requests from the government for access to that data. Unfortunately, oftentimes when law enforcement asks for access, they put a gag order on it, saying that you cannot report to the person whose information was requested that it has been done. Now, a lot of the cloud companies tend to just hand over data and move on as soon as the gag order is lifted, inform their customers. There have been two companies, however, that have been unbelievably vocal about their displeasure at the concept of a gag order. They have been Yahoo and Microsoft. Microsoft has been the more successful in their campaigns. In fact, there is a rule in the books right now that a gag order won't be overreaching, and that is because of a case that Microsoft brought against the Department of Justice in 2016. It was settled in 2017 with the agreement that the gag orders, if issued, would be narrow. Well, Microsoft recently received a data request and a gag order for one of their top customers who has thousands of employees whose name obviously cannot be released because of the gag order. And Microsoft has argued that there is no way that there isn't a single employee inside of the corporation who could be informed that their company's data has been accessed by the Department of Justice without affecting whatever the case is. They have taken it to court. Unfortunately, they lost their first round, but their general counsel has said he's not giving up. He will appeal this until he can't appeal it any higher or he gets the answer he wants, because he believes that this gag order violates the too broad rule. So, as somebody who has a lot of information in the cloud, all of the content for our shows is hosted at a cloud provider. We've got a lot of data out in the wild. I would want to know if something of mine had been requested, and I appreciate that Microsoft and Yahoo have continued to fight what I consider to be the good fight here.
Yeah, I get that in certain, but I think so that's good, except I'm not really sure as a customer what you can do with that information. I mean, you'll be annoyed.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe if you're worried about being there's something incriminating there, maybe you call your lawyer. But it's kind of like the horse already left the barn because like the government got your data.
Mm-hmm.
Like the point at which, and I presume that that they're at least having to get a subpoena for this, right? Or they're at least having to get a warrant,
yes,
or something, right? Or is this without a warrant?
No, these are all warranted. They're all they're all sealed warrants. Before the technology age, the use of a sealed warrant was very rare, because what are you going to do? Are you going to sneak into somebody's house while they're not there? No.
Right, yeah. You would know if somebody searched you. You can't not, you can't, yeah. It's almost unavoidable.
And that's
unless someone's going to sneak in like a burglar.
Exactly. And that's the thing, it's the big question is, does law enforcement have the ability, constitutionally, have the ability to do a search without a non-informed search, is I think really where the argument on this comes down to. Even if it's too late, right? If they've accessed my data, at least knowing that it's happened is an indication to me that something has gone wrong, right? So, why are they accessing my data? Obviously, I need to be prepared for something, so when they come knocking on my door, it's not a shock.
Well, then you should be entitled not only to know that, but you should be given the warrant, a copy of the warrant.
I agree.
I mean, if you have if police come to search your house, don't you have the right to request to see the warrant? That they
have to show it before they enter.
So why not? See, yeah, I think there's something fundamentally messed up here, which is that they're showing the warrant to Microsoft, mm-hmm. because Microsoft has control of the servers, of the hardware.
They own the real estate.
But they should be showing the warrant. At the very least, they should be required to also show the warrant to the owner of the data.
I agree. I haven't given Microsoft ownership of my data. I have signed a lease for virtual real estate to store my data in their rental space. If somebody wants to come into my apartment, they don't just get to show the warrant to the landlord. They still have to have my permission, because I'm the leaseholder on the land. And as far as I'm concerned, it works the same way in the virtual space. and the Department
Right.
of Justice
Yeah,
disagrees. Obviously.
I agree with that. However, I want to say I find it the idea that they could only inform like one person in the company or a select person in the company to be kind of beside the point. Like
Of course.
either you can inform the company or you can't, right? Like because if I tell one person in the company, right, but who needs to know in the company,
Right.
right? Like is you just going to try to find one person who really needs to know? The company's legal department needs to know,
Uh-huh.
you know?
Yeah.
Um,
I think this whole
Possibly the
thing's a mess.
executives in the company need to know.
Yeah. I think this whole thing's a mess. If they were to come, if they wanted to search the hard drives of, and there's a great episode of the newsroom on this. If they want to search the hard drives of a company, they have to physically come into the office and take the hard drives. But that's not at all how it works if you're storing your data off-site, which, I mean, if this gets too overreaching, the idea of cloud storage is going to start being way less appealing to corporations in particular, which is, the basis of the whole industry. So it'll definitely be interesting to see how this goes. Microsoft says that they're not gonna let up. They're gonna take this as high as they will be allowed to. So it'll definitely be interesting to follow.
This could be a boon for NAS drives.
It definitely could. This week's DRM Not Included on F5 Live is proudly powered by Amazon Prime. In addition to your free shipping, you also get a whole bunch of cool stuff like Amazon Prime Music, which gives you several million tracks available to stream for free as part of your subscription. There's Amazon Prime Video, which gives you TV, movies, documentaries, including that episode of The Newsroom that I mentioned a few minutes ago. All both original and licensed content available as part of your subscription. Plus, you get Twitch Prime, which gives you one free subscription per month, which you can use to support the streamer of your choice. You can use it to support us at PLUGHITZ Live or any other streamers. You also get free games. Free is always good. Free games available every month. They change out all the time. Claim your games and play them. There are lots of fun things. Plus, you get all kinds of in-game content for both PC and now mobile games, including PUBG Mobile and a bunch of other mobile games. You can get free in-game content. And you can find all of that by going to f5live.tv/prime. And if you're not a subscriber, you get a 30-day free trial all there. So sticking with that legal theme, let's talk about how the EU is looking to annoy Google this week. We know that it's so common for countries in the EU to do things seemingly targeting Google in particular, that a term, the Google tax, has been coined. The most famous response from Google to one of these laws was in Spain a number of years ago. They passed a law that said that Google would have to pay news organizations for every time they showed a preview of a news article in search. And so Google said, all right, we've got an idea. How about we shut down the service? And they shut down their news indexing in Spain altogether. That was a big deal. And this week, a similar law with a slightly different response has come out. Instead of Spain, it is now France. The law is the same. It says that Google would have to pay news organizations for showing anything more than a headline. And so Google search for news articles has been reduced to headlines. No preview, no image, no nothing. Just the headline and a link to click on. And they are allowing news organizations to sign up to bypass that, essentially giving them the right to, for lack of a better term, a $0 lease on their content. Because as Avram and I can attest, the idea of being removed from Google search for a news site, terrible. So much of our traffic comes from Google search results for us. I imagine it's probably similar for you as well.
Yes, yes, yes. But this kind of calls attention to just the outsized amount of influence Google has on the success or failure of sites on the internet. Like how dependent we all are on Google, which also means that Google is able to do more and more things that kind of aren't necessarily in the publisher's interest,
Sure.
but publishers will happily allow Google to get away with. So if you think about this as part of kind of a larger question of, so Google's a benefit to content providers all around the internet, such as ourselves, because that's how a lot of people find us. A lot of people are just searching for something, and then they land on our website, and that's how we get. And hopefully they remember us and come back. But very often Google is the place people start and find us.
Sure.
So we love Google. We want to be on Google. And as a user myself, I use Google a million times a day. But here's where the problems come up. So yes, you can say it's ridiculous what those laws are asking Google to do. On the other hand, who is setting the limit for how much of your content Google can use?
Right.
Right? You can ask to be delisted from Google, I guess. Good luck. That's not a good business decision, right? So, if you've got a news article and having the headline plus the summary plus the picture is enough that people don't actually feel like they need to click just to read the article, that's that could be a downer for you.
Sure.
On the other hand, what we know is it's much better than not being there. A better example is the Google answer box. So those answers that you get when you search for a question these days, and like a very high percentage of the time, there's a box at the top of, this is not Google News, but regular Google web search. If you're searching for an answer like, when did this start? How old is this person? Whatever. You will get a little box at the top of the search results that is content that Google has taken from another website, often Wikipedia, but it could be my site or your site. And then it will have a link back to the cited source. That's good.
But it oftentimes answers the question without the link.
Right. It saved you. To quote the famous Twitter account called "Saved You a Click," right? It saves you a click. So, but getting that click is how websites make money.
Yeah.
And Google makes money not by sending you to these other websites, but by keeping you. Although, to be fair, considering that Google provides the advertising for a lot of websites, they do have somewhat of a stake in it as well. I mean, a lot of sites use Google AdSense, use YouTube, which runs ads trafficked by Google. So, Google does have a stake in the success of other websites, other than itself. But it's certainly like the best case scenario for Google is that people spend more time on Google.com and less time on other sites. So, if you get your answer or you see just enough in the summary of a news article that you feel like you don't need to read the article, maybe you go and spend more time on Google and click something else there, where 100% of the ads and experience are controlled by Google. So I kind of get where the governments of France and Spain were coming from, in the sense that Google is getting all this content. They didn't have to work for it, right? Like, they didn't have to go out and conduct interviews and fly journalists around and pay people money to report the news and gather the news and break a scoop. All they have to do is have an algorithm that grabs that content that somebody else worked so hard on and displays it. So,
Yeah.
now I think most publications, including and most publishers and most editors, myself included, would say, oh, listen, if Google wants to include a short summary and a little picture to entice, that's probably better. It probably entices people to click a little bit more. And, sure, let them do it.
Sure.
But there's no legal framework in place saying where one should draw the line between,
Yeah.
okay, Google's taking the stuff to promote my site versus, hey, Google's taking
Yeah.
the meat of my work here to where people aren't going to leave the Google site, but they're going to benefit from my work without me benefiting.
Yeah, in the U.S., there's a little bit of a legal framework created by a case brought by Yelp against the now defunct Google Places that collapsed because of this case. Google had built the entire Places system off of Yelp's data, and while they did provide a link on every review to go see that review on Yelp, nobody did. Because they didn't need to, they already read it. And so
Right.
that case made it, to a federal appellate court, I think. So 1 or 2 levels shy of the Supreme Court. And Google lost big. And Google Places is no more. But so that we've got a little bit of a framework, but it really, we know that taking the data in its entirety without permission won't work. But where is that line? I think personally the line is probably whatever I put in the what do they call their framework?
Meta description.
Yeah, there's a particular name for their graph that they use for.
On the knowledge graph.
Yeah, I can't remember what the name of their platform is, but whatever it is, whatever I put in there is what they should show. Anything more than that, I think, is inappropriate. But there are people who have taken advantage. You mentioned the answer box. There are people who have taken advantage of the answer box to drive revenue. I know if you do a Google search for GoDaddy promo codes, I think is what it is. The answer box is all affiliate links. So you can game it, but you have to really know what you're doing, and it would be complicated to accomplish that. I know the person who accomplished it, and it took him a year and a half to pull it off.
But first of all, Google probably doesn't want to do that. Was probably getting away with something.
Right.
And second of all, that's only applicable to a case where someone was already looking to spend money. They were already looking for a promo code.
Exactly.
Whereas if I have an article about how to, I don't know, how to change your wallpaper in Windows or something, I don't see how I can turn that into something, because after all, Google is indexing it. So if mine is geared more, if I suddenly try to throw something promotional in there, like, hey, now go spend on Amazon or whatever, then they'll just take something. They'll be wise to that and take something somebody else's.
Right. Exactly. So there's it's like I said, it's really difficult to game that system and turn it into something useful, and it's a very niche thing. But I think the answer box is an interesting idea, but there are very few situations in which it's the better solution for the publisher. So It's interesting. I definitely like the idea that Google has said, if you want our search results to include your description, you can give us that permission. That they have that ability. But it's better than pulling out of France entirely. I guess that's the thing, because so much of our traffic comes from them. So,
yeah, no doubt.
They didn't have this ability in Spain originally, which is why they pulled out. I think it was added later. So definitely an interesting situation. We see this more and more in the EU, but it would be interesting to see, like, even if Google were to put together a framework, this is what we want to do. Okay? And have a conversation with publishers. That would probably be the best case, but I don't see them doing that.
I mean, at this point, it is almost like Google is a public utility, so I can see why governments would want to get involved, because there's no real competition for Google. Sorry, right. Bing.
Yeah.
The numbers say that Bing does not have a significant share of the market. I don't think I don't know who's still using Alta Vista or Ask or whatever.
89
Go
89 versus 11 is not, 11's not a serious player. Microsoft had 15% of the mobile market in Europe and still gave up on Windows Phone. You know what I mean? 11's not enough.
Yeah. So, I mean, you almost have to wonder whether at some point Bing will be they will cut off Bing like they've cut off some other projects.
If it'll be Windows Phone, they actually make a lot of money off of it because they do all of the search and ad buys for Yahoo. So I can't suspect that it would go away. But if Yahoo were to change their plans, maybe.
Yeah, fair enough.
Well, that is our show. Thank you to those of you who joined us live. I see we've got, I think it says Kenneth Dev in the Twitch chat room. Thank you for joining us. We always appreciate it. If you didn't and would like to in the future, f5live.tv/join us Sunday nights at 9 p.m. Eastern Time. If joining us live isn't an option, you'd like to subscribe, you can always go to PLUGHITZlive.com/subscribe, and there you will see all of our shows and all of the many ways that you can connect with us, whether it be social media, YouTube, the podcatchers, or all of the other places. I think probably that's it for tonight. And on behalf of the staff that's not here, I'm Scott.
I'm Avram.
And we will see you guys back next time. Ciao.